Folks, I hope you've had a good week. I've had a great week. My classes on campus seem to be going well. I hope this one's going well for you. My 2-year-old Icy did her first artwork on my whiteboard here down in my office. I think you can see that she's probably gifted. My 4-year-old Wit finally earned his letters and sounds crown in pre-K. A lot of his colleagues had earned it about November, December, so he was ready to get it done. My almost 7-year-old grandson, Hopper, I used to read him books, and now he reads me books. So the cool thing is just to get to see them grow, see the difference that teaching makes and practice makes, and to watch those synaptic firings happening. I'm not comparing you to my 2, 4, 7-year-old, almost 7-year-old, but the purpose of this class is the same thing, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you grow, looking forward to seeing you practice, seeing ways we can work together for that to happen. So let me move this camera just a hair to get the glare off the whiteboard, and let me talk a little bit about the second speech coming up, the informative speech, since this really gets into the heart of what we're talking about. In fact, lesson 12, you'll notice on the online pieces, is really the whole heart of this class on both informative and persuasive speeches. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about planning your speech. Then we're going to talk about the elements of a speech, just a reminder of those key elements, and then some presentation ideas. Now, both on the link for Module 3, February 11th through 17th, and on the assignments, you'll find the presentation assignment itself that tells you about what I'm looking for in the informative speech. You'll also find the grading rubric for the informative speech, and then the topic and speech planning form. Now, the first thing I want you to do is review the grading rubric so you get an idea of what we're looking for, and ideas of organization and getting it started and transitioning from the intro to the body to the conclusion. I'm looking for your delivery style, and we'll evaluate on that and how clear you are, how well you handle it, and being within the time limit. I'm looking for good organization and excellent delivery. Once you've reviewed that grading rubric, just so you have an idea where we're headed, then open up the topic and speech planning form for the informative presentation. Now, this is not the outline for your presentation. It's just a way for us to get started. It's going to ask you about what your key idea is. Remember, the key, general idea, specific purpose is this. This is the outcome you're seeking. At the end of this presentation, I would like my audience to. That's the purpose. At the end of this presentation, I would like my audience to. It also is going to ask you for ideas for an attention getter. What are your key main points, your conclusion, and the types of supporting materials? This just gives me a chance to look together with you at what you're thinking about working on, make any suggestions, us work together on it, getting rolling, and then you can get into the body of doing your presentation. You're going to turn this in by the 17th so that we can review it together. All right? So that's the topic and speech planning form. Now, once we're done with that, it's time to begin nailing down your presentation. Be clear on your purpose and your thesis, the key idea for this presentation, because off of that, you ought to work, that ought to give you clues to what your main points are going to be. Remember, my suggestion is typically you have 3 main points. You may want to have as little as 2, but no more than 3. Identify those main points, and then that tells you how to start doing the research for that. And if you need any ideas or help on doing the research for that, do that. Remember, you're supposed to have 3 sites, at least 3 sites in this presentation. You'll cite it in the presentation and also on that outline that you're going to turn in. Once the body is complete, once you've nailed down these sources, once you've written those elements of the body, your 3 main points, maybe sub-points, then it's time to write the introduction. So write the body first, and then write the introduction. In the introduction, I want you to think about your attention getter, because this is not an attention getter, where you say, okay, so my presentation is on, or hi, I'm Gary Schwantz, I want to talk about. Instead, one of the reasons I talked about my grandkids was just as a different form of attention getter. I'm not great at citing stats or using humor or anecdotes. I am good. I tend to work with story. That was an example of me trying to work with stories, a way to get your attention, to pull it in rather than just stepping up the camera saying, okay, so start out powerfully, look in the camera, step up, and then get rolling with it well. Make sure that your intro previews into your body, the main points of your body. In your intro, you do the attention getter, then you'll do a preview of the 3 main points, and then transition into the body. Remember in speeches, you've probably heard of this about organizing a speech. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. That's the basic premise of a speech. In the body, I want you to have clear points and transitions. Remember, transitions are words that just serve as guideposts, letting you know that we're finished with this point, heading to the next one. We're finished with the introduction, heading to the main points of the body. We're headed from one main point to the next. We're headed into the conclusion. We're transitioning into the conclusion. It helps them follow. And once you get to the conclusion, you're going to review the 3 main points and then find a way to finish strong. And it may be, again, one of those attention-getting elements like a story or humor or stats or an anecdote, a quote from someone. As to the presentation itself, speaking to a camera is hard. It's hard for me. I'm used to speaking in classes and having people in front of me. That's why I encourage you, I require you to have at least 2 people watching your presentation and them be there for it. It gives you some faces to bounce off of, so you know how it's coming across and you're clear. The other thing I like about you being required to have somebody in there with you, it keeps you from having to try to make it perfect. I notice on some of these that if I don't start out well, I start again and then I start again. I think if you got 2 or 3 people watching you, they're not willing to put up with that. And I'm not looking for perfection. I would rather you, even if you make a mistake, I'd rather you power through and do well with it. That's what the practice is all about, man. Remember, I'm on your side. I want you to do well. The same way I love watching my grandchildren grow, I love to see the way my students have grown, the way they've changed. So there it is. Get started planning. Turn in that planning form on the 17th. Have the elements of your speech in mind, and then when it's ready, man, step up and blow us away. And in conclusion, I got a very cool email this week from one of my students in a past public speaking class. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this with you, because she was so shy when the class began, really nervous about speaking. And this is from the note she so kindly shared. She said, "Last year I was your student in our public speaking course. I'm writing you this email to let you know that all the hard work you put into helping me succeed and get every last drop out of your speaking class has helped me beyond belief. Today I accepted a competitive job offer. I had 3 on the table. I'd like to thank you very much for all that you helped me realize about myself. Today I'm on the top of the world. As I never thought I could be seen and noticed and put on a direct path for success this early out of the gate. Thank you for breaking the shell so I could emerge into a successful young professional." Touches my heart and makes my life. I love getting to work with you. I'm looking forward to seeing these presentations.